Hi, Dan Goodman here, and welcome to a little nonsense called Gangsters and Funny Prunes. Did you know that Walt Disney got kicked out of every bar he went into? He tried to slip people a Mickey. I have a question. Is rigor mortis defined as lending money to a friend and getting stiffed? If you think you have a problem, what about a sardine with claustrophobia? I have a question. Did Roman gladiators wear jock straps? If you think you have a problem, what about an inchworm on the metric system? You know, doctors who prescribe Viagra are just trying to stiff you. If you're thinking of having an affair with a giraffe, you're reaching. You know, I got carded at a local tavern today. They said I was not playing with a full deck. I have a question. Can a half-sister be buried 3 feet under? Did you know that Beethoven liked prunes? It inspired him to write his first movement, but as he grew older, he didn't give a shit. If you think you have a problem, what about a racehorse named Elmer? When drummers don't like you, they can really stick it to you. Did you hear about the guy who was into S&M and turned down a dinner invitation because he was all tied up? Did you hear about the boxer who went into a comedy club and shouted at the comedian on stage, "What's that punchline again?" I have a question. Do atheists pay their bills religiously? I have a question. Do proctologists know the end is near? When I told someone at lunch yesterday that my books were mostly a menu of one-liners, he replied, "Would one of them be the Titanic?" My insurance broker tried to sell me an umbrella policy, but I declined. There was too much overhead. This is a little-known fact. The disposal crew at Waterloo didn't have to remove any dead bodies as they all floated away. If you think you have a problem, what about a stud horse at a carousel? I just love those omniscient financial advisors who tell people who are living in the desert that they should save for a rainy day. The wife says, "Where are you going?" The husband says, "To the vet to get some Viagra." The wife says, "Why go to the vet for Viagra?" The husband says, "I heard he can give an old dog a bone." I have a question. Did Evel Knievel ever jump to conclusions? I have a question. Why did Benny Goodman always work the swing shift? If you think you have a problem, what about a vegetarian shock? They say guys who took Viagra got depressed. It's ironic that one pill can be both an upper and a downer. There are millions who are conceited, but that's nothing compared to Geronimo, who screamed out his own name when he made that legendary jump. Earlier today, I walked by an ATM machine, and boy, did I get withdrawal symptoms. If you think you have a problem, what about a diabetic bee? I took Viagra once but I had to sleep on my back for a week. When I was a youngster, my mother told my father that she would like something in oil for the living room, so he gave her a can of sardines. Did you hear about the saxophone player who was always horny? I have a question. If you are the undisputed heavyweight champion, what is everyone fighting about? Did you hear about the guy who was new to S&M? He was just learning the ropes. I have a question. Did Amelia Earhart ever fly off the handle? Did you hear about the guy who bought a box of See's candy after he visited the eye doctor? When hockey players get some teeth knocked out, do they only get a partial salary? I had a girlfriend once who said she was going to make me something homemade. So when we went skiing, she threw a snowball at me. I think anyone who writes a thesis on the sex life of a hot dog must be into phallic symbols. If you think you have a problem, what about a ticklish dairy cow? My favorite uncle gave me a boomerang when I was a kid, but I just could not throw away the old one. I have a question. Do FBI agents have a bureau in their bedroom? Did you hear about the vampire who bit off more than he could chew? I have a question. Do proctologists ever get behind in their payments? This couple asked a duck if she could recommend a good doctor, and all the duck could say was, "Quack, quack." When my friend Steve went to the eye doctor, he was asked if he wore glasses when he drove his car. He said, "No, I see everything I hit." Did you hear about the homeowner who called the airline because the pilot light went out on her water heater? I have a question. Is Peter Pan a wash basin in a brothel? When fame is fleeting, join the Navy. I have a question. Did Sugar Ray Robinson ever fight on Boxer Day? This is my definition of the day. Deferred maintenance is a government that self-destructs owing to internal decay. You know, I don't watch TV sitcoms. Why is that? Well, I find canned laughter insipid. It is an insult to my one iota of pseudo-intelligence. A mortuary sent a cadaver serendipitously to a black market medical research center. The police were called in and solved it rather quickly, as the whole operation was a dead giveaway. My favorite dessert is a castrated sundae, that is one without the nuts. May I mention that you should never expect anything new from an echo? I have a question. Is an oxymoron someone who flunked out of Oxford? This is a savory recipe for health and entertainment. So a savory recipe for health and entertainment is watching the Playboy channel while reading the Mayo Clinic newsletter. I made a useless trip yesterday. I was invited to a reunion of suicide bombers, but no one showed up. I had a friend who joined the armed service because he was from Battle Creek, Michigan. The best place to go to church is a poker casino. It is where everyone prays. I have a question. Is Peter Pan a wash basin in a brothel? We did that one before, but I just had to stick it in again. I'm amused by a highly acclaimed financial analyst who said it's a big bank for its size. Is it true that when the first atomic bomb went off in the desert, that one of the Indians said, "I wish I had thought of that"? What is the difference between an agnostic and a diagnostic? An agnostic is fine with himself. A diagnostic spends thousands to find out there is something wrong with him. Did you hear about the hobo who fired himself as a guru because he found out he was giving himself bum advice? If an infant can live through infancy, why can't an adult live with adultery? I have a question. What is the difference between a year and an entire year? I have a question. Is a wisecracker more succulent than an animal cracker? You know, I didn't realize alligators had that much political clout, but they got the legislature to outlaw skateboarding in the Everglades. What a crock. In some places, gambling is illegal, yet playing the stock market is not. Go figure. Is it true that soccer is not the only game you can win by using your head? If repetition is the mother of learning, who is the father? I have a question. Should I buy a new car or should I buy a brand new car? Well, thanks for listening to this little bit of nonsense, and I leave you with this final note. Wouldn't it be wonderful if there were a massive eruption on planet Earth so we could start over and this time get it right and no more of this Adam and Eve bullshit? Cheerio.